You will not always have a crowd. There will be no applause, no one clapping for you at 2 a.m. when you're fighting battles nobody knows about. Sometimes life will strip you down to the bare version of yourself. No support system, no safety net, just you, your thoughts, and your will to keep going. But that's where strength is built, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, not in comfort, but in discomfort. When you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, broken, tired, misunderstood, and still rise, that is power, because if you can survive alone, you become unbreakable when others come. You're not needy. You're not weak. You're ready. So build yourself in silence, pray in silence, work in silence, and when the time comes, let your strength speak louder than your words ever could. True strength is built in isolation, not in comfort. This is something life doesn't teach with words, it teaches through silence, through absence, through the long nights when no one is there to check on you. In comfort, everything feels easy. You're surrounded by validation, help, praise, and warmth. But comfort doesn't demand anything from you. It allows you to stay still. It lets you avoid the difficult questions, the honest answers, the personal accountability. Comfort is where you hide when you're not ready to grow. And while there's nothing wrong with peace, there's a difference between peace and avoidance. Growth rarely comes with comfort. It's born in the fires of solitude, where you're forced to face yourself, raw and unprotected. In isolation, there are no distractions. There's no crowd cheering you on, no hand to hold, no voice to guide you but your own. And that's where the truth shows up. It shows up when you realize no one's coming to save you. That's when you either crumble or you rise. That rise, that silent decision to push forward with no applause, no reward in sight, that's where real strength begins. It's not about ego. It's not about showing the world how strong you are. It's about becoming strong for you, so that even if no one claps, you keep going. Even if no one sees, you still show up. Even if no one understands, you don't stop. When you're in isolation, you begin to understand the meaning of discipline. You learn what it means to show up even when you don't feel like it, to stick to the plan even when you're tired, to keep working on your craft, your health, your mind, not because someone told you to, but because you decided to. That's the kind of strength that lasts, the kind that can't be taken away when the lights go out or when the people walk away, because it wasn't built for show. It was built in silence, under pressure, in the dark, just like diamonds. People often mistake loneliness for weakness, but being alone isn't the problem. Being dependent on others for your identity is. The truth is, some of your greatest breakthroughs will happen when you're alone. That's when your thoughts aren't drowned out by noise. That's when your soul starts speaking. That's when you figure out what you truly want without influence, without pressure, without distraction. And it's in those moments of stillness that you begin to build something deeper than muscle or momentum. You build resilience, the kind of inner fortitude that allows you to walk into any room, into any season, and not flinch. Because you've already been tested by silence, by rejection, by being overlooked, and you passed. You learn to become your own source of motivation. You learn to generate energy from within. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for someone to tell you you're good enough, because isolation taught you something most people never learn, that your value isn't tied to visibility. Your worth doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from who you are when the crowd is gone. That kind of strength is rare. It's not loud, but it's unshakable. It doesn't brag, but it endures. And it's built far from comfort. It's built in the quiet hours, in the self-doubt, in the failures you don't post about. It's built in the process of becoming, and once it's built, no one can take it from you because it's yours. You earned it when no one was watching. Hard times reveal who you really are. Embrace them. It's easy to talk about strength when everything is going well. When your bills are paid, your health is strong, your relationships are smooth, and your path is clear. Anyone can sound confident, focused, and in control. But that version of you isn't tested. That version hasn't been put under pressure. It's in the dark moments, when life flips on you without warning, that your real character walks to the front of the stage. The version of you that shows up when things fall apart, that's the truth. That's who you are beneath the surface, beyond the smiles and the plans. It's only in the storm that you truly see your foundation. Hard times don't ask you if you're ready. They don't send a warning text. They don't care about your schedule. One moment, you think you've got life figured out, and the next, everything you leaned on is gone. The job disappears, the relationship ends, your health declines, the world grows quiet. That's when life becomes painfully honest, and it's in that silence, that discomfort, that confusion you meet yourself. Not the version you post about, not the version that performs, but the real, raw you. That's where growth begins. Most people run from pain. They numb it, distract themselves, pretend it's not happening. But pain doesn't go away just because you ignore it. In fact, the more you avoid it, the louder it gets. What you resist persists. Hard times are not punishment, they are revelation. They uncover what's been buried. They expose your fears, your weaknesses, your false beliefs, but also your untapped strength. You don't even know how strong you are until you have no choice but to be strong. Until there's no one to carry you. Until it's 3 a.m. and you're sitting alone with your thoughts, forced to either break down or break through. Embracing hard times doesn't mean you enjoy suffering. It means you understand that struggle has value. That pain has purpose. Diamonds are formed under pressure, not peace. Muscles grow under strain, not stillness. Character is forged in the fire. When everything is easy, you cruise. But when everything is hard, you're forced to dig deep. You develop grit. You find out if you actually believe the things you say when you're winning. You discover if your faith is real or just a slogan. Hard times peel back the layers and expose the truth. That's a gift, even if it doesn't feel like it at first. Because once you've gone through something real, once you've survived something that almost broke you, you walk differently. You speak with more conviction. You stop worrying so much about opinions. You don't fold at the first sign of trouble. You become steady. You become reliable not just for others, but for yourself. You stop being surprised by difficulty, and you start preparing for it. You realize life owes you nothing, and that everything worth having must be earned through resilience, patience, and persistence. The people who are strongest are rarely the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who have been through the storm and didn't let it drown them. They cried, they bled, they doubted, but they kept going. And every scar became a reminder not of pain, but of power. So the next time you find yourself in a season of struggle, don't just ask why it's happening. Ask what it's revealing. Pay attention. Don't waste your suffering. Let it shape you. Let it stretch you. Let it teach you something about yourself that comfort never could. Because the real you, the powerful you, shows up when life gets hard. And that version of you, that's the one that's unstoppable. You won't always have support, and that's okay. There will be seasons in your life where you'll look around and realize that no one is clapping. No one is texting to check in. No one is asking how you're doing. You might share your vision and be met with silence. You might hit a low point and realize that the people you thought would be there just aren't. That kind of moment is hard. It stings, especially when you've been the one who always showed up, always cared, always supported others. But here's the truth: the absence of support is not the absence of worth. It's just life's way of asking, can you keep going without applause? Can you keep believing in yourself when no one else does? Sometimes people don't support you because they don't understand what you're doing. Sometimes they don't believe in your vision because it wasn't given to them, it was given to you. Your purpose isn't a conference call. Not everyone will hear it, see it, or feel it the way you do. And you can't expect people to cheer for something they don't understand. That's not a reason to get bitter or angry. It's just a sign that this part of the journey is yours alone, and that's okay. There will also be times when people who once supported you go quiet. Maybe your growth makes them uncomfortable. Maybe your progress shines a light on their stagnation. Maybe they don't want to see you change because your evolution challenges their comfort. Don't take it personally. Growth often creates distance. And as painful as that is, it's also necessary. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every chapter of your life. Some people were there for a season, and when that season ends, their silence begins. Let them go. Let the silence teach you what presence never could. When you stop expecting support, you start realizing your own strength. You learn to clap for yourself. You learn to be your own source of motivation. That's when you become dangerous, not because you're cold or bitter, but because you're self-sufficient. You stop needing approval to move. You stop shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to believe in your own vision. That kind of power can't be bought. It can't be given. It's earned through quiet mornings, lonely nights, and 100 silent battles that no one else sees. And yes, support feels good. We all want to be seen. We all want to be encouraged, but if you never get it, or if you lose it, you still owe it to yourself to keep showing up. You still owe it to your purpose to give your best, because you weren't born to be understood by everyone. You weren't created to live a life based on likes, followers, or applause. You were made for something deeper, something that lives beyond attention. When you operate from that place, when your drive comes from within and not from outside validation, you become steady. Unshakable, focused, you build discipline that doesn't rely on emotions. You build vision that doesn't rely on company. It's okay to want support. It's okay to hope someone will reach out. But it's not okay to let the lack of support stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. If no one shows up for you, show up for yourself. If no one believes in you, believe harder. If no one claps for your wins, celebrate them anyway. Your journey is sacred, whether or not others recognize it. Keep going, keep building, and let the silence remind you you're stronger than you think. Being alone teaches self-reliance and spiritual depth. There's something sacred about solitude that most people run from. We live in a world full of noise, constant connection, endless distractions, voices telling you who to be and what to do. But when the noise stops and you're left alone with your own breath, your own thoughts, and your own heartbeats, that's where the real work begins. That's where the mask starts to slip, and you're faced with the truth about who you are without the opinions, without the crowd, without the routine. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But within that discomfort, you begin to find something powerful yourself. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means learning to be your own anchor. When no one is there to tell you what to do, how to move, or what choice to make, you learn to listen inward. You start asking harder questions. What do I believe? What do I want? What am I running from? There's no one to hide behind in solitude. There's no role to play. It's just you. And when you face yourself honestly, day after day, something in you starts to grow. You stop leaning on external support for validation. You stop needing constant reassurance. You begin to trust your own voice. Self-reliance isn't about doing everything alone out of pride. It's about knowing that even if no one helps, even if no one shows up, you won't fall apart. It's about becoming mentally and emotionally strong enough to carry your own weight, to hold yourself accountable, to stay consistent even when no one is watching. And that kind of strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from being tested. It comes from walking through the valley by yourself again and again, and realizing that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. Being alone also sharpens your spiritual awareness. When the world goes quiet, your soul speaks louder. The distractions fall away, and suddenly you can hear the whispers of something deeper. Call it God, call it intuition, call it purpose. You begin to realize that you're not as alone as you thought. That there's something bigger guiding you, something that's always been there, waiting for you to slow down and listen. In solitude, prayer becomes less of a performance and more of a lifeline. Reflection stops being a luxury and becomes a necessity. You begin to feel connected to something eternal, something stable, something beyond the surface of everyday life. And when that spiritual depth takes root, your perspective shifts. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to fill the silence with noise. You learn to be still. You learn that peace doesn't come from people or possessions. It comes from alignment. You stop asking the world to fix what only the soul can heal. You learn to sit in your own presence and not feel anxious. You learn to carry your pain with dignity and your joy with gratitude. Being alone teaches you to appreciate your own company, to protect your energy, to say no without guilt, and to walk away from things that no longer feed your spirit. Most people are terrified of being alone because they've never learned how to be enough for themselves. But the ones who embrace it, the ones who lean into that space and let it mold them, come out transformed. They come out with clarity, strength, and a quiet confidence that doesn't beg to be seen. They know who they are, what they value, and what they believe, and that knowledge becomes a shield in a world that constantly tries to shake your foundation. Solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. It teaches you how to survive, how to lead yourself, and how to walk with something deeper than motivation. It teaches you how to walk with purpose. The goal isn't just to survive, but to thrive in silence. Survival is the instinct. It's the fight to keep your head above water, to make it through the storm, to hold yourself together when everything around you is falling apart. But there comes a point when survival is not enough. When simply existing through your struggles becomes too small for the kind of person you're becoming. Silence doesn't just have to be the background noise of suffering. It can be the soil where greatness is planted. Thriving in silence means choosing to grow even when no one is watching. It means building a life, building strength, building purpose without needing attention, validation, or approval. Most people can survive in chaos. They can keep going when the world is loud, when the crowd is cheering, when there's constant feedback to push them forward. But what about the times when there's no applause? What about when no one sees the work you're putting in, when the hours feel long, when the journey feels thankless? That's where the real test is. That's where thriving in silence separates the committed from the casual. It's easy to be motivated when people are watching, when there's recognition waiting at the finish line. But to keep moving in silence, to keep showing up with excellence when no one sees or cares, that's strength, that's discipline, that's character. Thriving in silence means learning how to create your own momentum. It means waking up and choosing to work on your craft, your mind, your body, and your spirit without waiting for a pat on the back. It's learning how to generate energy from within. It's refusing to be driven by noise and instead being guided by something internal, something that doesn't fade when attention disappears. Because silence can be a classroom, not a punishment. It teaches you how to endure, how to focus, how to build. And in that stillness, you become dangerous, not because you're loud, but because you no longer need noise to validate your power. There's a kind of power that only grows in quiet places. It's the power that comes from knowing you didn't quit when no one was encouraging you, that you kept going when doubt was louder than faith, that you stayed faithful to the process when the results were invisible. In a world that worships visibility, thriving in silence is a rebellion. It's choosing to become great without the need to be seen. It's understanding that the real victories are often the ones no one claps for, the times you didn't give up, the days you showed up without motivation, the nights you stayed disciplined when the world was asleep. Thriving in silence also requires humility. You have to be willing to outgrow people, outgrow habits, outgrow your former self without broadcasting every step of the journey. Growth isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's lonely. But that's okay, because silence gives you space to make mistakes without judgment. It gives you room to try again, to stretch, to fail, and to learn without the pressure of performance. It's where transformation happens, not the kind you post about, but the kind that changes the way you think, the way you live, the way you carry yourself. This kind of thriving isn't for show. It's not driven by ego. It's driven by a decision to become the kind of person who doesn't rely on applause to have value, to become rooted, steady, unshaken by the highs and lows of attention. You stop asking the world to notice, and you start asking yourself to keep going. You learn how to rise in silence, how to grow in silence, how to win in silence. And eventually, when the noise returns, when the spotlight finds you, you'll be ready, not because you needed it, but because you already became everything you needed to be in the quiet. Silence today builds the strength that speaks tomorrow. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout. It doesn't post every move. It doesn't rush to prove itself. It grows slowly, quietly, away from the eyes of the world. It's built in the days when nothing seems to be happening, when the room is still, when no one is asking about your progress, when you feel like the only one carrying weight that no one else can see. That silence, that invisibility, can feel like a burden, but it's not a punishment, it's preparation, because the silence you endure today is shaping the voice you'll speak with tomorrow. The strength being built in the dark is the same strength that will carry you in the light. People often mistake silence for weakness. They think if you're not loud, if you're not seen, if you're not constantly proving something, then you're not doing anything. But real strength doesn't come from performance. It comes from discipline, from staying true to your vision when there's no feedback, from showing up for yourself when no one else does, from doing the work day after day when no one says thank you. That's not weakness, that's power. That's the kind of inner stability that doesn't get shaken when pressure comes, because it's been tested in silence. In silence, you learn things you'd miss in the noise. You hear your thoughts more clearly. You discover your patterns, how you respond to fear, how you handle rejection, how you recover from failure. It's in the quiet that your weaknesses are exposed, not to destroy you, but to invite growth. And more importantly, it's in that same quiet that your strengths are refined. You learn what you're capable of when no one is pushing you, when no one is watching, when there's no reward but progress. The growth you experience there becomes the foundation for everything that comes next. You don't have to announce every step of your journey. You don't have to post every success or explain every setback. Let the silence do its job, let it mature you, let it sharpen your character, because when your moment comes, when the opportunity arrives, when the platform appears, when people start listening, you'll be ready. Not just because you've survived the wait, but because you've been transformed by it. The strength you built in solitude will speak for itself. It will show up in your confidence, in your calm, in the way you carry yourself. You won't need to prove anything, you'll just live it. Most people want to skip the silent seasons. They want the voice without the volume control. They want the impact without the process. But there's a reason silence comes first. It's where your foundation is laid. It's where you develop the endurance to carry weight without breaking. It's where your values are tested, where your identity is rooted, where your habits are solidified. That way, when your voice finally rises, when your moment finally comes, it doesn't crumble under pressure because it wasn't built overnight. It was built brick by brick in the quiet, without shortcuts, without applause. Silence isn't empty. It's full of lessons, full of shaping, full of strength that doesn't always look like strength. Every quiet day is a day closer to becoming the kind of person who doesn't just speak with volume, but with weight. The kind of person who moves with purpose, not noise, who understands that timing matters and that sometimes the best thing you can do is grow in silence until the time is right. Because when you've done the work in private, the results speak for themselves. And when your voice finally echoes, it won't just be sound, it'll be substance, built not on hype, but on hard, one truth. So wherever you are in your journey, Whether you're walking through silence, sitting in solitude, or standing in the aftermath of something that tried to break you, remember this: you were not made to fold. You were not made to beg for support, or validation, or applause. You were made to stand, to grow, to rise, not just to survive in the silence, but to thrive in it. Because every quiet step you take, every unseen battle you win, every tear you wipe on your own sleeve, that's not weakness. That's strength, that's power. And one day, when your voice speaks, when your presence fills the room, the world will hear not just your words, but your journey, and they'll know this one didn't just show up. This one was forged in fire, built in silence, and born to lead. Keep going. Your silence is building something the noise never could.